Well, board.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoning board meeting of October 6th, Goffstown Zoning Board Meeting of Adjustment, October 6th. And just a little bit of business before we get started. As chair of the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustment, due to the COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The ZBA is utilizing a telephone conference line for this electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, to participate in this meeting through dialing the following telephone number: 603-766-5646. That again is 603-766-5646. And using the participant code 785-645, followed by the pound sign. Don't forget that pound sign. Providing public notice of this we are providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using the available phone number with the posted agenda. We are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, they're to call 603-660-5000. Again, that is 603-660-5000. And we would adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we'll adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. All votes that are taken during this meeting will be done by roll call vote. When each member states their presence, especially those who are calling in remotely, those connected telephonically are also to please state whether there is anyone in the room with them during the meeting. And that is required under the right to know law. And then we have, where did I put them?
Know it by heart, by
No.
Gail?
You know, I've said it so many times. The Goffstown Zoning Board is an elected board of 5 members and up to 5 appointed alternates. Currently, the board has 5 elected members and no alternates. So if anyone's interested in serving on the ZBA as an alternate, please see Nancy Larson for more information. The board has a posted agenda for each meeting and tends to follow the items in order. The board will open the public hearing on an application to receive testimony from the applicants, abutters, and affected parties, and to ask questions about the appeal. The public hearing will then be closed, and the board will enter into a deliberative session to discuss the merits of the appeal. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a later meeting. You're welcome to watch the deliberations this evening, or you can contact Nancy Larson at Town Hall to get the results. For an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. An applicant can request a continuance if there's not a full 5-member board to act on an application. If you're aggrieved by a decision made by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to the Superior Court. However, before appealing to the Superior Court, you have to request a rehearing with this board to preserve your right to appeal. Rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision and state all reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable, and failure to request a rehearing may forfeit your ability to appeal to Superior Court. And if everyone would join me and stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we will I'll ask for introductions of the board. We will start with Denise.
Denise, member?
Alan Yaton, member.
Gail LeBrecq, I'm chairman.
Leonard Stewart, Vice Chairman.
Nancy Larson, Zoning Code Enforcement Officer.
And on the telephone, we have,
Sandra Parker, member.
and are you alone in the room, Sandra?
In the house.
Pardon?
I said no one is here with me.
Okay, thank you.
Except for the dog, right? Lucy?
Yes. Lucy's here. But she can't tell no secrets.
Okay, our first items of business tonight are approval of the minutes. We have minutes of August 4th and September 1st to approve. So we'll start with August's minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the August 1st minutes.
Second.
Okay, and we will have a roll call vote. We'll start with Denise.
Yes.
Alan?
Yes?
I say yes.
Yes.
And Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, those meeting minutes are approved. And September 1st, the minutes to the meeting of September 1st. We'll start again with Denise.
Do you need a motion for those?
Oh, yes,
I'm
sorry.
A motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, so we have the first and we have the motion and the second. Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes?
Gail says yes. Len?
I'll abstain since I wasn't present.
Len abstains. And Sandra?
I'll have to abstain also. I was not present.
All right, so we have a vote of 3-0-2, and the minutes are approved. Okay. Our first item on the agenda tonight is Jason and Aspasia Cody, applicants owners seeking a variance and a special exception to add an accessory dwelling unit to the second floor of a detached garage. The variance is required as the accessory dwelling unit will not be attached to or within the main residence. An accessory dwelling unit is permitted with a special exception per section 5.2 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 18 Merrill Road, map 4, lot 8, zoned residential 1, and conservation open space district. As a result of this application is back here as a result of a failed motion made during the board's public hearing held on August 4th for the request for a variance to permit an accessory dwelling unit in a detached garage. So they are back, and this is actually the second time they are back. Nancy, you want to catch us all up to speed for the record, please?
Yes, if I can, probably won't recall all the details, but the first meeting where the applicants had requested a variance to locate an accessory dwelling unit in an existing detached structure. In addition, they requested a special exception for an accessory dwelling unit. If they prevailed on the variance, then the board would have moved forward with the request for the special exception. After quite a lot of deliberations, we did not have a full 5-member board that evening. We had 3 members, and the chair, as always, made the announcement to the applicants that they have the ability to postpone to the next meeting, or until we have a full 5-member board, if that's their wish. They opted to move forward. The result, after a vote on a motion to grant the variance, was a failed motion of 2 for granting of the variance, and one vote was against.
Nancy, can I
Yes.
correct you there? Because in August, we had a full board, and that motion was 3-2.
Oh, okay.
Three
2-3.
again. The motion was to approve the variance, and that failed by a vote of 2-3.
Okay, continue.
Okay, so we did try to discuss, or we did discuss about reopening the public hearing. And the request was to only do it for a vote of, or another vote instead of discussion of the whole application. And there was also a request for legal advice. So we didn't hear that, we didn't do anything that night.
Right, so the question really centered around the state statute and what happens when you have a vote where it's a 2-to-1 vote or a 2-to-3 vote, meaning if someone made a motion to grant a variance request and you had 2 members in favor of and 3 against, then, what happens to that vote? And then, I think it was last month when we had a 3-member board, we had a situation where we had a motion that was made and correct me if I'm wrong.
That's where it was.
Okay, so we had 2 members that voted, or there was a motion, I think it was a motion to grant the variance.
No.
Or at that
No,
time,
it
we
was
were just
to
talking
reopen the
about the
public-
reopening the public
Reopening the
hearing.
public hearing, I believe.
So, so the issue was, first, there were 2 issues, really. Does reopening the public hearing require a vote of the board? And then the second issue is if we have a motion to reopen the public hearing and there were 2 votes in favor and 1 vote against, is that a failed motion? And so with respect to the failed motion and interpretation of the statutes and interpretation of our rules of procedures, the town administrator did weigh in and expressed that when you have a motion like the one that I just described, it does result in a failed motion, and if necessary, the board can continue until we have a meeting where possibly there will be more members to vote than just the 3, because
Gail, can I?
Okay, wait a minute, we've had that. Can we let
Can I-
Nancy finish first?
yeah. And then the other issue, as far as having the requirement of a vote of the board where the chair makes a motion or asks for a motion to be made to reopen the public hearing. We did receive legal advice from the town attorney, and he is of the opinion that he's not aware of any case law. It's very good practice to seek the opinion of the rest of the board, but there isn't anything necessarily that would prohibit the chair of any board from just going ahead and reopening the public hearing, but he doesn't advise operating in that manner. So that's what I have.
Okay.
I mean, by trying to take a crack at simplifying it, my understanding of it was that the failed, just because there was a failed motion to approve, it does not necessarily mean that that action is rejected. There should have been a second motion to say, to not grant the variance. There was not, and I think that's
Right.
kind of why we're in the
Right, exactly.
Right, which is
situation that we're in.
a very difficult scenario when you only have 3 board members, because it's very unlikely that the board members will not change their vote.
We had to vote that night. We were a full board that first vote.
For the first
But
vote.
for the, yeah,
But we
for the
didn't get,
first-
but we didn't get the second, after the motion failed,
Nobody.
There was
made another
no-
motion.
There
nobody
was
made
no
another
second
motion, so we
motion
didn't
that
get
was
the
made.
second motion to go ahead.
To
And then the next
disapprove.
and then the next meeting, we only had a 3-member board, so that made it a little more difficult to,
Alan?
You mentioned statute several times. You referring to this or to the planning guide issued by the Department of State?
no, whenever I say statute, I always am
Is it-
referring to the RSA's, revised statutes annotated.
And it says the failed vote in here?
674-33, I think it is,
It
talks
is.
about it.
It's 674-33,
All right, I'm just asking.
which says, "The concurring vote of any 3 members of the board shall be necessary to take any action on any matter on which it is required to pass."
Is that the law or is that an
That's,
explanation?
no, that's the law. There are footnotes that have explanations, but what Gail read is the law. It's taken right out of the statute.
Okay. All right. Just asking.
The handbook is what clarifies it and says,
The handbook clarifies it when it says, consult the town attorney before you change anything. Excuse me.
Well, that's pretty standard even when you go to conferences, because no attorney wants to issue an opinion if they're not your own town's attorney. So,
And our town administrator is not an attorney either.
well, I feel that the language is very clear in the statutes.
It's clear in the adopted rules of this board. Mm-hmm. Very clear. Mm-hmm. But the only thing I'd like to say about those is those were never reviewed by an attorney either. Were they?
I'm, which time are you referring to? Because they've been revised many times.
The ones that were approved on the 19th of October, or whatever,
Those
2019.
Those were not sent to the town attorney because they were based on what the state of New Hampshire recommends, but I'm not sure we're really having a discussion on the rules of procedures for tonight's zoning board meeting. It's not a workshop on the rules of procedures.
so I guess the question is, what are we gonna do from here?
Well, the attorney has said that it's not necessary, legally necessary for the chair to seek a motion with a vote to reopen the public hearing. But you certainly have that ability to do so. So I would say, maybe open it up for discussion, will of the board, and
Okay, well, I'm gonna start with some discussion then. I'm gonna give my point of view, and then we can discuss everybody else's point of view and what we're going to do. Because this applicant deserves some sort of response. So my opinion is that we should reopen the public hearing. And I don't mean just for the vote, I mean further because he has an attorney, and his attorney has submitted a couple of different letters. Do I remember saying that there was some new information or clarified information or something? But regardless, because of this situation, which is our own fault, my fault, I'll take it as chairman, because I didn't ask for the second motion. This applicant has gone on for 3 months without a response, without being able to move forward. And at this point, if we'd given him a strict denial, he could have requested his rehearing by now, and that would be done, and he could either be going forward or going forward one way or the other. He'd have some movement. And I think it's the right thing to go ahead and reopen the public hearing, listen to them. Nothing says we have to change our votes, but we should listen to them, to what they say. And if anybody wants to argue what the law says, it does say, where, in the next paragraph, after the concurring vote of any 3 members of the board shall be necessary to take any action on any matter which it is required to pass, it says, a local zoning ordinance may provide that the zoning board of adjustment, in appropriate cases, and subject to appropriate conditions and safeguards, make special exceptions to the terms of the ordinance. All special exceptions shall be made in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and shall be in accordance with the general or specific rules contained in the ordinance. So we have that option of being able to make an exception from the ordinance to be able to do what's right while still maintaining the intent and integrity of our zoning ordinance. And I think by doing that, we are maintaining the integrity of our board as well. I think it's the right thing. And I'm open to anybody else's same or differing opinion. Glenn?
I concur with Gail that I think in fairness to the applicant, we should reopen the public hearing, listen to their presentation, any new information that they have to bring, and just bring it to a definitive vote at this hearing. I just think it's only fair.
I agree.
Okay. Alan? Any comments or input?
Nope.
Okay. Sandra, how about you?
Yes, I agree also, we should open it.
Okay, then, if we're of that mind, it seems, can we have a motion to open?
I motion to reopen the public hearing on.
I'll second.
Do you want the specific case?
No.
Okay.
Aspasia and Jason Cody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Thank you.
All right, so we will take a vote, roll call vote. Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
No.
Gail, yes?
Len, yes.
Sandra?
Yes,
And Madam Chair, you caught that Sandra seconded the motion.
Yes, I did. So we have a vote of 4-1 to reopen the public hearing, and let's get that moving. If the applicant wants to come forward, let me find the application. And first of all, let me start by apologizing for this 3-month delay. Okay, I'm really sorry, and like I said, I take the blame because I totally went over my blonde head to,
I also take blame on staff. I'm supposed to be more alert.
I mean, we appreciate the opportunity to provide you with some new information on this, and we appreciate the novel position you found yourselves in, particularly last month with only 3 people here. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for working through it, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. So, I'm Roy Tilsley. I'm an attorney at Bernstein Shore. On behalf of Jason and Sia Cody, Jason joins me at the table. This is exciting. I haven't been in front of a microphone, I think, since February. This is kind of cool. If you can't hear me with the mask, I'm happy to take it off while I present.
whatever's comfortable
Okay,
for you.
Great. So the property we're here for is 18 Merrill Road. It is tax map 4, lot number 8. It is 2.6 acres. It's improved with a single-family home with an existing detached 2-story garage. It is located partially in the R1 and partially in the Conservation Open Space Districts. My understanding is that the improved portions of the property are entirely within the R1 zone. The variance is to allow a detached accessory dwelling unit as opposed to a attached accessory dwelling unit. If we succeed in the variance, as the chair noted earlier, we will then move to the special exception request as to whether we meet those criteria for an accessory dwelling unit. Our proposal is about a 750 square foot accessory dwelling unit on the second floor of the existing garage. It will be located in the rear of the garage. The first floor will remain garage space for 2 vehicles, so we will not be eliminating in-garage parking for on-site parking. If the board approves the project, I think there was some concerns back in August, and I wasn't here, I've watched the video. We do have to obviously comply with the building code when we do this, so, we understand that, and that will happen. There was also some concern in August, the septic system for the property is located from the front of the existing house. The garage is located about 100 feet or so behind the house.
130.
130 feet behind the house. There was some concern about the feasibility of using the existing septic system for the garage accessory dwelling unit. We did provide you in my August 25th correspondence the approvals to allow that to happen. So in terms of the last hearing, we've overcome that hurdle, and we can show you that we do have septic approval for the existing system. We know what happened in August, I won't repeat it, but we do think that there are some additional factors that the board should look at in making its determination on the various requests, and if it's okay, and I realize I can't do this for the member who's on the phone, but I have copies of the tax map that I'd like to pass out, just to, I think, help illustrate some of the distinct, unique features of the property. I don't want to break any rules. And again, I'd remind you that you also have in my prior materials the septic design plan that's part of the septic approval. This is the tax map. I'm not sure it's a tax map. I think it may be one of the GIS maps. I should correct myself because there's no numbers, but it's from the town's website. I have highlighted the Cody's lot in yellow highlighting, so that is the lot in question. A couple of things that I think you can clearly see by looking at this particular plan. The house is located to the front of the lot along the east line. The septic system is in front of the house, so there's no ability to create an attached dwelling unit going to the front. Also, no ability to create an attached dwelling unit going to the east because we are so close to the property line. There's a deck that you can kind of see to the rear of the property, which again makes it difficult to do an attached ADU to the rear of the property. In the septic plan will show that there's also wetlands kind of in the driveway area, which make it hard to go in that direction. Our position, two other points on the plan. You can also see the size of the property. It's a 2.6 acre property. We're in, I believe, 1 acre zoning in R1, so if that was the only zoning issue, and I know it isn't, I'm not trying to play fast and loose, but theoretically, if that was the only issue, you could get 2 units on this particular lot. And the lot is also abutted both to the rear and to the east by a very large single-family lot where the closest, the single-family home is about a quarter of a mile away from our property. So in terms of the possible use of the garage as an ADU, it's really only the westerly abutter that would be affected in any real fashion in terms of having visibility and proximity to the garage. Essentially, our position today is that rather than this is a ranch-style home, it's not really feasible to do a second story. Rather than trying to shoehorn an ADU that's attached to the home on the property with all the difficulties between the septic system and the setback on the side and the wetlands and lot coverage issues, it makes a lot more sense from a planning perspective to use the existing 2-story garage on the property for an ADU. We're not expanding, building something new. We're using what's already there. We're keeping the garage use, so we're not kicking cars out of the garage and putting them in outside of the house. From a planning perspective, it is better planning. It makes more sense to use what's already there than to try to Mickey Mouse or jury rig something else on the property simply because it complies with the specific requirements of the ordinance. Back in August, I think the issue that you folks wrestled with mostly was the unnecessary hardship prong. We believe there's a couple of unique conditions of this property that support a hardship analysis. As a couple of board members indicated in August, one of those conditions, and we agree, is that the difficulty of adding an ADU, an attached ADU to the house, given its layout on the property, given the wetlands, the setback, and the septic system in the front, the porch in the back. It simply is not a property that we can easily add an accessory dwelling unit to. The other unique condition that I think the board should consider, or second unique condition, in terms of hardship, is the fact that there is an existing two-story garage on the property. It's been there historically. It's been no issue for anybody. It's capable of accommodating the accessory dwelling unit. This is not something where Mr. Cody, pulled a permit to build a garage, and built something, beyond what anyone would expect for his garage. This has been there for as long as we know, and it exists without difficulty. And again, we're not proposing new construction. We want to convert what's already on the property. The purpose of requiring ADUs to be attached to the primary home is primarily to limit construction of multiple buildings on a parcel. You don't want to have every parcel building a separate accessory dwelling unit that's not attached to the main. In this case, there's no fair and substantial relationship between that purpose of the ordinance when you have an existing detached building that can accommodate the ADU. Why build something new? Why jury rig something in there because it's attached when you can use what's historically been there that may be unattached but doesn't involve any additional construction to the property? We don't have to expand it. We don't have to eliminate the present use. From a land planning perspective, there's no additional lot coverage. This is, I think, a reasonable use of the property, and it serves the purposes of the ordinance to avoid additional development. There's no additional development. We're using what's already there. There is a financial hardship to my client. The cost to do the small dwelling unit in the garage is about $10,000. If they can find a place to put it and attach it to the house, it's about $40,000 or $50,000. So there's a considerable difference between those issues. And again, if we build something new, there'll be an impact, probably impact on wetlands, there'll be a lot coverage issue, could be a septic issue. The proposed use as an ADU is reasonable. ADUs are allowed by special exception. It's a residential use. It's consistent with the neighborhood. The lot's of sufficient size to support an additional small accessory dwelling unit at 2.6 acres. The other zoning ordinance, the other variance criteria will not be contrary to the public interest, and it's consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. The detached ADU will not alter the character of the neighborhood. This garage exists. It's existed for many years, and the lot's big enough to accommodate this type of use. There's no exterior alterations proposed, and the septic is approved. As I think the board knows, ADUs are now sort of favored under state law to increase housing stock. Obviously, the state law requires attached, doesn't require detached, but there is, I think, a recognition that as a state, we have a limitation on our housing stock, and ADUs help to address it. If he can build a new ADU and jury rig it onto the house, why not let him do one in a garage that already exists that can easily accommodate him? There's substantial justice. There's no gain to the public by denying this variance and forcing Mr. Cody to, again, jury rig and figure something out to attach to his house. It makes sense to use what's there. The loss to my client is great. He's got the economic loss. Interestingly enough, when he bought the house, the garage was taxed as if it had an ADU in it. So I don't know what the history is here, if it ever had one, but it was on the tax rolls at some point as having an ADU in it. He changed that when he bought it because he didn't want to pay taxes on it. Now that he wants to convert it, he's here to do that. So there is kind of a questionable history with what happened there. Finally, the proposal will not diminish surrounding property values. The garage is fairly isolated from the rest of the neighborhood. There's no material increase in traffic. The lot size can accommodate it. And again, whether it's attached or detached, it doesn't really have any material impact on the neighborhood. So we believe, from a planning perspective, it's better to use what's there than try to build something new just to comply. We think we meet the 5 variance criteria. We thank you for the opportunity to present again, and we'll be happy to answer any questions about the proposal. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions? Alan?
Just one question. I thought I remember some discussion about the fact that it's, there was a finished living area in the basement of the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's where the original came from, not from the fact that
The original,
on the tax card is a finished, unfinished basement, but it had been finished by the prior owner. And there were people living in it.
I don't know anything about that.
I mean.
It's on a building permit application. There's a note about removing an illegal in-law apartment. It doesn't specify the location, but my recollection also is same as Alan's, is that it was in the basement, and that was one of the items that was going to be taken care of as part of this building permit application that was issued, building permit issued back in 2014, when it was purchased by an LLC.
Because one of the things I remember the applicant saying about that is that his family uses it as family space.
Right, right. And I don't know the history of that, but I mean, Jason does know that when he bought this property, the tax card reflected an ADU in the garage, which wasn't there. And again, maybe there was one previously, just sort of ironic that it was on the rolls, now it's off the rolls, and now we're trying to put it back in.
I have the tax cards in front of me, sir, and it's not on here.
No, it's been taken off. Mr. Cody, because he didn't want to pay extra taxes, went to the assessor and said, please take it off after he bought the property. But there was, when he bought it, which was what, 2017?
2014.
2014, it was on the tax card. He had it taken off because it wasn't there, and he didn't obviously want to pay taxes on it.
Glenn, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I just don't see, one of the things the attorney cited is one of the criteria for hardship is the fact that this is a ranch house. But again, there's nothing unique about a ranch house. I can think of at least 2 more ranch-style houses within a quarter mile on that road. I don't think there's anything unique there. I don't see either that or the fact that you have an existing garage or grounds for, grounds that you can cite for hardship.
I would agree with you in the sense that I don't think a ranch house in and of itself is unique. But in this case, we have a ranch, and if he can meet the special exception criteria, he's allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit that's attached. The problem is there's nowhere to attach it. You can't go in the front because there's a septic system. You can't go to the east because there's a setback issue. You can't go behind it because there's a deck. And you can't go into the driveway area because there's wetlands. So there is no practical way to, easy way or logical way to expand this ranch, add an allowed accessory dwelling unit. It's not gonna, if he manages to squeeze it in, it's not gonna fit sort of the layout of the house and look like it's a natural part of the house. We think that is a hardship that supports using the existing garage rather than creating something new.
Well, I believe as I said in one of the previous hearings, one of my concerns is here the fact that it's 130 feet away. The town ordinance is quite specific on within or attached. And, if we were talking about a breezeway length from the house, then perhaps I would feel different. But when you're essentially creating an entirely separate dwelling unit on the same property where only one dwelling unit is allowed, that's my issue with it.
Which is why we're asking, which is why we need a variance, because it is not attached. So, I understand that, we think we meet the variance criteria and that therefore we're entitled to have that variance relief. And that, again, under the ordinance, it is I think, the most sensible approach for this property.
Alan?
The attorney made a statement that there's wetlands to that prohibits them from building between the driveway and the house. There's no wetlands there.
I didn't hear him say wetlands.
If you look at the septic plan which we submitted, there's an indication of wet areas in that vicinity. I'm not the engineer, so, but.
Can you point out, I can
I
pass
can.
this around, you should,
Right here.
do you all have this in your packet?
It's the W dash W
Correct.
dash W.
Correct.
That's the water line.
That's the tree line.
That's the water line as far as drinking water going to the house.
So that's not a wetland, it's water line.
What water line?
Here are we,
So,
Water line
look at the
comes from-
septic system,
Yeah?
and you'll see a dash W that goes to the house, and then it goes all the way to the garage.
W
That's
is
a water
not, W is not a symbol for
Wetland.
wetland, no.
That's our understanding. I mean, the water line, that's not the water line. The water line comes directly across Merrill Road. It doesn't run in that sort of circular
Well, there must be
fashion.
you-
Is-
is there municipal water
Yes.
in that area?
Yes.
No, the other issue, if you're talking hardship, is that the applicant's attorney had said that it's $10,000 to do the garage and about $40,000 to add on to the house. And financial reasons can be considered a hardship, so.
Madam Chair, I'm gonna go to the GIS and call up the utility layer, and maybe that will provide
Would
some
help.
insight.
So can we talk amongst each other as well, at this point, or just
We
questioning?
should
Okay, I'm
wait.
just asking.
Madam Chair?
Alan?
There's actually a house to the west on the adjacent lot also. If
There
you-
is. It's on the way on the other side. If you look at the plan I submitted, you can see it's literally a quarter mile away.
To the west, not the farmhouse.
To the
up
west.
the hill.
Sorry, to the west.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
On the
there is-
other
there is
side.
abutting- The house to the west is not far away, I agree.
And so there's no wetlands here.
His well is there. His well's over here, so there must be wetlands there.
And
Not
there's
identified on that map.
a wall, correct?
Yes, there's a wall.
Off of the, so that's a bedroom on the,
Yeah.
let me get my bearings here. That's the, I don't have it,
There's 2 bedrooms down there.
right, but
No,
the,
there's one bedroom there.
This is on the main floor. It's Jocelyn.
so the west side of the property, so if in fact that W is something other than the wetland, that's a wetland. But if it is something else, there's a wall to the west, and that room that you'd be attaching off is a bedroom, which is
The master bedroom for
is
the
the
house.
master bedroom for the house, so it makes it difficult to attach that, a dwelling unit to that, because you have to have egress to and from. So again, we still think it's not a sensible way to expand this property, particularly when we have, again, an existing garage that's already there that can be used without eliminating its existing purpose.
Questions, Denise? Comments?
No, that was my understanding about the bedroom, and that's why they couldn't put it on the west as well. And I will say, I appreciate the septic plan, not that it's required for the zoning, because that's a different issue, but, you know, it's nice that you know that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Lynn?
Not at this time.
Sandra, do you have any questions or comments?
No, it's just, no.
Okay. Are we ready to move forward from this? Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, again, thank you for the opportunity again.
Thank you.
So I guess I will open the hearing to the public. Any public members that might want to comment?
anybody on the phone lines?
Get back, hold on just a second. There's no one on the phone line.
Thank you.
Okay. And did you find what you were looking for?
No, not yet. Utility points are, a map layer, for some reason, okay, there we go. Let's see, drain, manhole, sewer. Let's see, there we go. Some of them were not showing up right away, so I'm picking my way through, so bear with me. There's I think it's just a drainage pipe that runs down the street there along the frontage. It's hard to see here.
There's storm drainage in the street,
Mm-hmm, yep,
goes down to the pond,
yep.
or what used to be a pond.
Yeah, and there's a series of culverts.
Yep.
I'm not, are you serviced by public water?
We are.
You are.
Yeah. And I know that it comes from across the street, because they told us that.
From, oh, okay, the line is across the
turnoff is
street.
across the street.
Yep, okay.
I don't think that water line would show on private property, would it?
No, usually, I mean,
Just in the
usually it would just show up where it is, or maybe a stub in the public way, but it wouldn't show the location on the, on private property. I'm looking on the septic design for any kind of, a
You see the-
legend.
I looked. Yours might be bigger. It says here, water line notes in the bottom. I don't know if you have a.
Yep, septic tank to water line shall be at least 10 feet, septic bed to water line.
That's a separation requirement.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's indicating a water line, and the other side of the driveway, it's just not completed for whatever reason, because it doesn't really need to be on that side of the driveway. It's
Right.
just more important to show the separation,
From the septic.
and it appears the water line is extending from the back of the house to the garage.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's what that W is
Yeah.
referencing, is the water line.
And that's,
So where's the wall here?
the wall is on the side of the driveway.
And what's
so
it consist of? How high
It's
is
a
it?
concrete wall about 18 inches high, because there's a huge difference in height between here and here.
Is that the thicker line right alongside the driveway? The wall's very
That's the
close to the
wall.
driveway?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
close to the driveway.
So it's marked by a thick line on the septic plan.
Is the lean-to that's indicated on the maps here located at the wall?
No. No, as a matter of fact, that lean-to is no longer there.
The lean-to was gone, there was a trailer or something there, pickup truck trailer?
Yeah, it's my mom's camper is where we're storing that for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that shed and lean-to is gone.
Oh, the
It was
shed
it
is
was it was dangerous, and we took it down.
Yeah, the only thing that's left there is the concrete slab.
Nope, it's actually paved. And where that water line is there, there's a gas line there too.
That makes sense because of that note saying how the septic line and the water line, so.
Okay.
Forgot about the gas line.
Are you set in finding what you were looking for? Can we move
Yes.
on?
Move on.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we?
I guess, I mean, it looks like that if the W is not a wetlands, I mean, Jason believes it's wet. There is that wall there. It's fairly steep, and the other difficult part, it would mean attaching it and having egress through the master bedroom, which doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, so.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing, and the board is going to enter deliberations on this application. And do we have any comments or a motion to begin with?
I'd like to make a comment. Okay. So 2 months ago, when this was brought to us, I definitely struggled with this because it was detached. But after listening to the applicant and him giving us the information, there really is no other place to put an ADU unit. And I think that that's why he's here, is to get a variance, and that's why I voted to grant him a variance for this.
No, I agree. There's no other place to put it, shy of building up, which really isn't practical, and with finances being a difficulty, or a hardship. You can't go to either side of the building, you can't go left, right, front, back, except for to the garage. And
Doesn't
as,
have an attached garage to put it in.
as he said, they're making use of space that already exists, so I'm okay with it.
Comment, Gail? I only say, the only thing that speaks to me on the hardship is the economic aspect of it. That's really the only hardship that I can see here. I think that there are probably other ways of engineering an ADU in a situation like this, if you look at it hard enough. But I do, as a homeowner myself, quite understand the difference between 10 grand and 40 grand for an addition, and that's the only thing that really speaks to me as a genuine hardship in it.
Okay. Alan, any comments?
Nope.
Sandra, comments?
Yeah, I'm with, Len on this one. The only, hardship I see is the financial one. There can be options, though they're going to be not, the most, aesthetically pleasing to the property. There are options, but the financial hardship is something I will acknowledge on this one.
Okay. Do we,
So can I make a comment?
sure,
Sorry. So we can determine that a hardship can be financial. Financial
Right.
issues is a hardship. And I will reiterate that if they had a garage attached, then they'd have space.
right.
It may cost them a little bit more money, but it would be more manageable. To turn around, they'd lose a bedroom if they're going to, on top of the financial hardship. So that's it.
Do we have a motion?
Well, I'm gonna go for it again. Give me a moment, please. Unless somebody else wants to, but that's the wrong one. I've had it out here, so bear with me. I grant that we give.
Make a motion that we
I
grant.
make a motion, I'm sorry, I make a motion, I haven't done this for a while, to grant Jason and
Let's see.
Aspasia Cody a variance. We're just dealing with the variance right now.
They'll have to come back with for the
To
special
create an
exception.
accessory dwelling in a detached garage, if they meet the criteria of the special exception. Do I have to add that? Or do I
Contingent
not?
upon the approval of the
Contingent
special.
upon- Yes.
Okay. I'll second. Okay, so we have the motion, we have the second, and we will take a roll call vote. Denise?
How about discussion on the
Oh.
motion?
I'm sorry. Okay.
My discussion is, based upon the tax card, what is now the master bedroom used to be the garage before he built a shed out back. I've lived in this town long enough to know that. Secondly, the addition to the master bedroom on the outside looks like a sun porch or a whatever. It's all a series of additions over time. So I don't see any hardship for the fact that what he has there is what he bought, period. And he went ahead and did what he wanted, he got caught.
I bought it the way I have it, Ellen.
Well, my thought on that is that it is not our responsibility to tell them what to do or how to do what they want to do when they don't. It's not our responsibility to give them an alternative plan to go ahead with what they've got. And he's got this house and uses it however he uses it for his family, their bedrooms, their living space there, et cetera. The plan before us is this one. We're not supposed to be considering another plan that he might be able to do better, or that might appeal to us better. We vote for it if it meets the criteria, we vote against it if we think it doesn't. And that's just my opinion.
And we can put conditions on anything that
We can, yes, we can.
Reasonable conditions.
Yes, reasonable conditions. Len?
I only say, I agree with you, Gail, that it is not our purview to dictate any kind of a design. I mean, in point of fact, with the remarks that were made about the garage, I used to live on that side of town for 30 years. I passed that property at least once a day. That garage has been there for 30 years that I'm aware of, if not longer, so it's not a recent addition. And I believe, somewhat in Mr. Cody's defense, that a lot of the changes in that property were made by the house flipping LLC that purchased the thing out of foreclosure. So, I impute nothing to Mr. Cody on this. I agree, we need to make a decision on what's before us, and that's it. And as far as the history of the property, it is what it is.
Okay, do we have any other comments? Sandra?
No, I don't have any comments at this moment.
Okay. Should we go forward with a vote? Are we ready to go forward with a vote? Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
No.
Gail, yes? Len?
And yes,
Sandra?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a vote of 4-1, and you have your variance.
Great.
The next step will be the special exception. That has to have a public notice?
No,
Oh.
the
that
notice, yes, the notice was written that there would be where's the language I'm looking at? Let's see.
Is it in here?
Truth of fill motion made during the board's public hearing held on August 4th, 2020 for the request for a variance to permit an accessory dwelling unit detached garage. The board will reopen the public hearing. And I apologize, I thought we had written this in a way that when the notices went out, that there was a possibility that there would be a public hearing for the special exception.
That was on the original
I do remember.
notice
And
of
so
the
it's
hearing
always,
for August.
so it says continue to September, and then we
Yeah, let me
continued
see,
it to
So
October?
you can take it up right now.
Okay.
It does
I don't
say
have a
subject to
I don't have a
variance.
copy of the minutes, apologize.
You can
Pardon
take
me?
up the special exception at this hearing without any notice.
Are you ready to go forward
I'm
with
ready
that?
when you are.
Okay, we're
Okay,
ready.
so there's two sets of special exception criteria for this. One are specific to ADUs, and then the general special exception criteria. So I'll start with the specific ADU criteria, and this is section 5.2 of the zoning ordinance. The first criteria is that the ADU will be clearly incidental to the primary use of the property as a single-family residence and shall not occupy more than 800 square feet of gross floor area. This will be 750 square feet. It'll be one bedroom and clearly incidental to the single-family use of the residence. Criteria 522 and 523, I think are covered by the variance. 522 is that it will be constructed within or attached to the single-family residence. We have a variance for that. And 523 is the one that requires an interior connecting door, which again is, I think, overridden by the variance since there is no connection. 524 requires approval of septic system design and capacity by DES. We provided that to you in my August 25th correspondence. 5.25 requires that no exterior entrance or exit to the ADU shall be constructed facing the front of the single-family residence. The garage is behind the single-family residence, so any exits or entrances will be behind it, not in front of it. At least one parking space will be provided for the ADU. That will be the case. That's 526. And there'll be no new curb cut from the street required for the ADU. 527 requires exterior construction and materials for the ADU to be uniform with the single-family residence. I think if you've seen the garage, you would agree that it's uniform. It has the same style of construction, the same color scheme as the house. And finally, 5.28 is the lot on which the ADU is located shall meet minimum lot size requirements, which it does. And the ADU shall meet the maximum height and minimum yard setback requirements as set forth in the ordinance, which we do. So I think we meet all of the specific ADU criteria for a special exception, other than the ones that I think are overridden by the variance. And then the standard special exception criteria are, number one, it must be an appropriate location for the accessory dwelling unit. Here, it's an appropriate location, it's a residential neighborhood. Lot size at 2.6 acres is big enough to accommodate an accessory dwelling unit. We're using an existing structure that's been in the neighborhood for many years, so it's consistent with the character of the neighborhood. Again, I think consistent with good planning, while supporting the additions of ADUs to the housing stock. We're not building anything new. The size of the use, number two, will not alter the character of the neighborhood. There's no changes to the neighborhood. The space exists. The lot can accommodate it. Other than the one abutter to the west, the garage is pretty well insulated from other abutters, and it's not all that close to the western abutter, but certainly it's in sight, so we would acknowledge that. Number three, the ADU will not create a nuisance or hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. This will be located within the existing property. We'll use the existing curb cut. There's no adaptations required to accommodate vehicles or pedestrians that will change what's historically been in the neighborhood. The proposed location, number four, must be of sufficient size. We have 2.6 acres in an area where 1 acre zoning is the minimum requirement, and we meet all the dimensional requirements of the ordinance. And finally, you must have appropriate buffers. We meet all required buffers. And again, there's really only one abutter who has not expressed any opposition, who potentially would even notice this use. The other abutter is so far away, it would probably be a secret for a long time. So we think we meet all of those criteria, and again, appreciate the opportunity to present this and believe we're entitled to the special exception for the ADU on top of the variance. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any comments from the board? Denise?
No.
Ellen?
No?
I don't have any. Lynn? Sandra?
Nope.
Wow. Okay. You have anything else that you want to add
I
before
don't
we?
think so.
Okay, so we will open this to the public for comment. Do we have anybody on the line, Nancy?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we will close the public comment portion of the meeting, and the board will deliberate. Do we have a discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a special exception.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have the motion, and we have the second to approve the special exception as requested. And we will take a roll call vote. Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes?
Gail says yes. Len?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a 5-0-0 vote in favor of granting the special exception.
Great, thank you, folks. We appreciate
I
your.
want to see those smiles. Through the
think
mask,
about
I
math,
saw his
you
eyes.
We appreciate your persistence in sticking with us. So.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you sticking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next application is for, wait a minute, where is it? Here we go. Jean H. Gale, Revocable Trust, applicant owner, seeking a variance to raise an existing camp and construct a year-round single-family home with related tree removal and other site disturbances and improvements within the inner 50 feet of the 100-foot wetland and surface water conservation district buffer. This concerns section 13.3.5 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 43 McFarland Road, map 42, lot 66, zoned agricultural district and wetland and surface water conservation district overlay. And that said, I'll entertain a motion for regional impact, please.
I'll move no regional impact.
Second.
All right, we have the motion and the second. Roll call vote. Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes?
Gail, yes. Len?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And we will move on into the application. And would you introduce yourselves, please?
My name is Jean Gale. I'm the owner of the property.
Okay,
I'm Spencer Tate with Meridian Land Services.
Tate?
Tate, T-A-T-E.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And what do you have to tell us about your variance request and your project?
Yeah, so thank you for hearing us. The variance that we're requesting is section 13.3.5.1 and 13.3.5.3, both involving disturbance within the inner buffer of Uncanunic Lake, let me use the right term, the WSWC, Water and Surface Water Conservation District. Pursuant to 13.3.4, relief from the outer 50 was granted by the planning board under conditional use. The proposal as a whole for the project intends to remove a seasonal structure that was constructed prior to jurisdiction, sometime conceivably in the 40s until maybe the 1960s. The existing building's in a state of disrepair. What the applicant is proposing is to remove that building, part of which is within the 50-foot buffer, and construct a new full-time occupancy home that more nearly complies with the local regulations. Part of that, as part of that proposal, a very small portion of the deck, the existing deck, needs to be removed, which is work within the 50 feet, so that's one of the reasons why we're here. And then also, there's surface grading proposed around, modifications to surface configuration, I believe is the language of the ordinance, necessary to grade around the proposed structure. This proposal went before the Conservation Commission at the 8/26/20 meeting. The DES granted shoreland approval for this. There was a legal septic system designed for this, and the local planning board, as I mentioned, granted the relief from the outer 50 at the 9/10, September 10th planning board meeting. The proposal intends to increase separation distance from the structure to Uncanunic Lake and is part of a total project to reduce overall impervious area on this lot. So I'd be happy to entertain questions, but otherwise I can go through the variance criteria and how I think we adhere to it. So granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the proposed work is entirely within private property. The proposed work will not degrade or diminish public rights on any adjacent or nearby parcels. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because the proposed work facilitates the construction of a new structure greater than 50 feet from the surface water and decreases total net impervious area. The intent of the ordinance is to protect the aesthetic, ecological, and water quality interests of the public. This request allows a more nearly compliant structure to be built. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because granting the variance allows the removal of an existing non-conforming structure and allows the parcel to be redeveloped with a more nearly conforming structure. Not granting the variance limits the owner and taxpayer's ability to construct a new home with increased separation distance to surface water. The values of surrounding properties will not be diminished because the proposal includes the removal of an existing non-conforming structure that has subsequently entered a state of disrepair. It's basically uninhabitable right now. Removal and replacement of the existing domicile with minor regrading and tree removal will not result in a diminution of a butter's value or development rights. And should the ordinance be upheld, the public will not benefit as the current house is within 50 feet of Uncanunic Lake and is in a state of disrepair. The public has no rights over this property. The existing house predates all zoning regulations, and the proposed work for which relief is being sought will facilitate the construction of a more nearly conforming structure. The proposal is compliant with local land use regulations. It's been granted DES approval, was endorsed by the local Conservation Commission, and was granted relief by the Planning Board. The proposal, as I mentioned, as a whole, it's an increase in separation distance to Uncanunic Lake and reduces net impervious area to the lot. The tree removal that we're seeking relief to is 2 trees, specifically an American beech and it was a red maple. Both are in a state of they would fall under the 140304 state regulation, which is dead, diseased, or unsafe trees. And the Conservation Commission was aware of that. They endorsed it and concurred that the trees do represent a safety hazard. And so it's only the 2 trees and the minor grading in the front and removal of the existing structure is the reason why we're here.
The minor grading in the front, is that what's in the inner 50?
Correct. When I say in front, I mean on the lake side. Sorry.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One, you said the Conservation Commission endorsed your application?
Correct.
What did they say besides the removal of the trees?
I don't have the minutes with me, but they, if it complied with the shoreland regulations, the NVWT 1400, and the state septic regulations, they saw that the proposal was a net benefit.
Okay.
They concurred with the functional, wetland functional assessment that was also presented to them at that time.
Okay, my next question is, in looking at this map here,
Sure, yep.
you point out a 75-foot well radius from the corner of the lot going forward. What is the distance of from the other corner of the lot to the lake? The other corner, where that number 4 is, that corner to the lake.
I'm sorry, can you hold up
This corner right here. As it goes out.
Oh, of the grading
Yeah,
towards the lake?
towards the lake, what's
So
the
the
distance?
the distance, I apologize for that. At the closest point is 33 feet and some change.
33 feet, so it's, okay,
Plus or
so,
minus, yeah, it's variable across the front because of the lake edge.
okay, and, but you said you are gonna reduce the overall impervious area
Of the lot, correct.
of the lot.
How is that happening?
I was just gonna say, how is that happening with the house being bigger?
So the house is larger, but the driveway is going to be reconfigured and reshaped to be a net reduction. So do you guys only have the 11 by 17, or is this,
Yep.
or full size disseminated?
I can look in the file, we probably have the full size in the file.
Okay, so driveways count as impervious area. There's also, the current house is actually larger when you factor in the size of the deck. So the proposed square footage is 865 square feet. The existing square footage is 890 square feet. So the house as a whole is getting smaller, and the driveway is getting smaller.
Okay. And my last question that I can think of was a comment, or a condition actually, that I saw in your DES, is it DES approval?
Sure.
Number 4, no more than 18% of the area of the lot within the protected shoreline shall be covered by impervious surfaces unless additional approval is obtained by DES. 18% seems like a lot to me.
It's relative on the size of the lot, right? So if it's a quarter acre lot, so when we consider 18% total impervious, that's driveways, walkways, house. When we think of the square footages involved, 43,560, so just about a quarter acre, let's call that 10,000 square feet. 18% of that 10,000 square feet, so 20% is right around 2,000 square feet, right? So when we consider the footprint of a standard residential home as around 2,400 square feet of total finished space, it's a lot, but it's a function, it's a percentage of the total area of the lot. So if you're a really small lot, it can seem like a lot.
Okay.
And is the driveway, is it gravel or paved?
It's gravel.
So that's and the state considers that gravel preparation is impervious.
Correct.
Yeah, they're crazy.
They're crazy, is that what you just said?
No comment.
They're
Tell us
crazy.
what you really think, Alan.
Well, I'll speak that if you can get the DES to approve something,
That's right, that took forever.
Yeah.
you've done something.
Oh, I know that. I've been there too many times in
I'm
my
not
life.
saying that's a bad thing, but it's, when it comes to us, we should know they've done their due diligence.
How about additional decks that don't show on the plan right now?
There's none proposed at this time.
Oh, I don't want to say at this time.
Well, there's none proposed right now. I
It's
mean,
gonna-
we're using it really as more of a guest house, as expansion for us, because we have this house that's very limited, right, because of the space, so.
You should mention too that she's the abutter to the
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
due-
so
due
my
south here.
my thought was, I'm trying to get some extra space because I have kids that live out of state, and when they come over, I have no place for them. They have kids now, so it's a place I can throw them over there, and I can still visit with them, so.
You can have a quiet house for
Right,
yourself.
right, quiet house,
Qualify as one of your kids?
That's right. She knows one of my kids,
Yeah.
so, yeah, definitely. So that's their real
So there's no
intent.
problem with a well radius being on adjacent properties?
Correct, and it's an existing well, it predates the 1989 regulations, so there's no recorded well release. And again, the chunk of that goes over onto an adjacent lot is largely the property owner's piece.
Oh, I know that too. The only thing I have a problem with is the decks and patios. Is if we entertain a motion to approve, I would restrict any development on the edge of the pond because they don't own the edge of the pond.
Wouldn't they have to come back for a variance?
I-
Yes, I just want that
Okay.
noted,
Okay,
that they'd have to come back to,
okay.
for any.
You're not yeah, as long as you're not prohibiting them.
No. They'd have to come back for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No questions.
Sandra? Questions, comments?
Okay,
No, I have no question.
I have one comment.
Okay, go ahead.
The plan says existing two-bedroom house.
Correct.
Tax card says one.
So the minimum design intent of that the state allows is a two-bedroom design intent from a septic loading perspective.
Okay, that's fine.
So
That's-
300 gallons per day is the minimum. You
Yep.
literally can't get an approval for anything less than that, even with a waiver.
So you're gonna have to remove any vegetation in any place that's modified grade-wise?
Pardon? Anywhere where the grade is changing, the vegetation needs to be removed? Correct, in order to do it properly and appropriately bed the material.
The board
Now, it
needs to
will be,
underst- yeah.
will be regraded or re-vegetated with loam and seed. We still have to adhere to the shoreland regulations.
Okay,
And the erosion control and the planting.
just so you
sequence.
understand that they're gonna take whatever trees are on there that are in this area that they're modifying are gonna be gone. Because a tree is not gonna survive if they
Two trees.
modify the
Just
grade
two
around it.
trees.
Two trees are going.
Deceased trees, that's it.
There's a lot of trees on that site.
There are, yes, and then when I say the two trees to be removed, those are the two trees to be removed within the 50-foot
Yep.
buffer, which is the purview of the board.
Within the inner 50
Correct.
and the outer 50?
The outer 50, the only proposed tree removal is to facilitate
Septic.
the proposed septic system.
How many trees might that be?
2, 3, 4, 5. But those are also beyond the 100-foot outer, I forget what the terminology the town uses.
The outer 50.
So they're greater than 100 feet.
So it's
from-
not for us to decide.
Yeah, and it received shoreland approval, and that's the only
Okay.
authority over that
Okay,
that band of the parcel.
okay. Alan?
My only comment, it will be a substantial improvement to what's there.
How did you see it?
Oh, I've been up there 4 times and,
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
have.
rad.
Okay. So, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I think that we've.
Does the
covered
board have any additional comment or questions?
I will only offer that I think the presentation has been very thorough. It's obviously that they've done their homework on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra, do you have any questions?
No, I think it was self-evident, so thank you.
Okay, then I am going to open the hearing to the public for comment, if there are any online.
No one online.
No one is online, so we will close the public hearing, and we will enter deliberations. Do we have discussion or a motion? Alan?
since they don't particularly the property line is indicated on the survey plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, the property line stops short of the shoreline.
There is a tract line that ties the two bounds together. As a non-licensed land surveyor, I don't feel comfortable answering that. I do not know. But it depends. What I can tell you is that the shoreline, the reference line, and where the water was observed on that particular day may not be the same thing.
Okay. Nancy, is there anything in the ordinance about prohibiting development of docks and that kind of stuff on this property?
No, it would just need to go through the proper channels of the shoreland program. They would have to pull a permit.
Shoreline
For that,
permit again?
Yes.
Go back and modify it and, okay,
And as long as shoreland grants a permit for the dock, then that's all the town has ever required. They don't need to go to conservation.
Okay.
They've never, you know.
all right, sounds good.
Anything else?
No,
Denise,
Good.
anything else?
No, I'm all set.
Len?
No.
Sandra?
No?
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as written.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second a motion from Alan and a second from Len, and we will do a roll call vote. Denise?
Aye, yes.
Alan?
Yes,
Gail, yes. Len?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yeah?
Okay, all in favor, you have your variance. Oh,
There's a recommended condition in my staff
Oh,
report
yes, there
Oh,
is.
oh, I missed it.
for 11.
2 copies. I had that written down and everything.
Oh. All right.
Denise, did you make the original? No.
No.
Alan made the original.
I don't have it handy.
Okay, let me
What is it? You wanna,
just gotta find it. I wrote it in
Page 2. Do you want my report? I have it right here. Yep.
Was it
Yep.
page?
Flip next page. That's this, right? That's
Yep.
my staff report? Okay. Look
Where is it
right
here?
above,
Number 9?
number
No,
11,
what,
recommended
number-
condition.
there we
in
go.
bold.
Okay, can we amend the motion? Well, Alan, you want to amend it, since you
Well-
read it? Number 11.
I was looking at that earlier.
I know. Escaped us.
Recommended conditions. Should the board vote to grant the variance request, staff recommends that the following conditions be placed on the approval. That the applicant submit 2 copies of the shoreline permit plan prepared by Meridian Land Services and approved by the New Hampshire Shoreline Program dated October 22nd, 2015, as revised, dated, and received by the Department of Environmental Services on February 23rd, 2016, to the zoning court enforcement officer. Oh, boy.
Can you repeat that, please? No, I'm just-
will you add that to your,
Yes.
okay, so we'll amend it with that condition. Well, and we will take, and Len, you
I
second?
accept that as a friendly
Okay,
amendment.
and we will go through a roll call vote with the amendment.
Yes.
Denise, yes? Alan?
Yes.
Gail, yes? Len?
Yes,
Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are back to 500, and you still have your variance
Thank you very much.
with the condition.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, too.
Appreciate it.
Stay well.
It's only 8:30.
Okay, do we have any other business, Nancy?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The one, I do remember, oh, I do. There's 2 things. Nancy had sent us an email regarding the planning conference.
Oh, yes, it's, it used to be the municipal law lecture series, and so now it's the land use conference. So I sent everyone a link to that conference and a message that if you would like to register, just forward your intent to Catherine. I believe I included her in my email, Catherine Fisher, and also with a copy to Danielle Besora. She is the finance director. And then Catherine will register you. She'll take care of all the payment. You just have to tell her which, I haven't looked at that registration yet, if there are concurrent sessions or not. If there are, you'll need to
Yeah,
indicate
the legal
which ones.
one would be a concurrent, it
Yeah.
usually is.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are.
So, okay,
It's on October 31st, and they are concurrent sessions.
okay. So, yeah, just get that information over to Catherine and Danielle, and Catherine will register you. Make it a lot easier than it has been in the past, so.
Okay. Then the other issue is our November meeting. Is that on the 3rd?
Look,
Because that's also election day.
well, that's not good.
Exactly.
No, it's November 10th.
It is the 10th, all right,
Yes.
so,
I think we had that discussion, now that you say that, a while ago, when we first came up with the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
that's good, because I'm working at the polls at 6:30 a.m. again.
me too, I'm working all day. So I will, that's good to know.
I'll be working all day, too.
At the post.
Okay, so if we have no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Len, second?
Second me.
Alan. Roll call vote, Denise?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Gail, yes. Len?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay, 8:35, we are done. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.